I just want to confirm if all of you are able to hear me. If you can hear me, can you say yes in the chat box? Do you hear me? If you hear me, you can say yes in the chat box. I just wanted to confirm. Do you all hear me? Okay. Okay. So many of you said yes. Thank you. So in this session, I'm going to demonstrate a tool called Neopod. Okay, I will be using the tool to make presentation, and I will also demonstrate the tool for making your teaching interactive. For this purpose, you should also use the tool simultaneously in the session. So I don't know how many of you are using laptop at the moment. In the chat box, can you say from which device you have joined this session? Is it laptop or mobile? If it is, okay. Some of you joined from a mobile. Okay. Many of you joined from laptop. Okay. Okay. So if you have joined from laptop, can you go to the website called nearpod.com? Can you go to this website, nearpod.com? If you have joined from mobile, you can install the app called Nearpod from the Play Store. Don't leave the meeting. Just go to your Play Store and install the app called Nearpod in your mobile. If you have joined from computer, just go to your browser and go to the website nearpod.com. Once you are ready, I can start the presentation and the activities. I've got so many activities in the during the session, so that will be possible if only you use the website or the app. So I'll repeat the instruction for those who have joined late. If you have joined this session from your laptop, go to your browser and go to the website nearpod.com, Nearpod, nearpod.com. And if you are using mobile or tablet now, you can install an app called Nearpod from the Play Store. I hope I'm clear now. So in the laptop, you can go to the website nearpod.com, and if it is mobile or tablet, you can go to you can install the app called Nearpod in your mobile or tablet. You can also use two devices simultaneously. That's not a problem. If you have installed, can you say yes in the chat box? Have you all? Okay, it will ask for code. I will share the code now. So this is the code. We see the code on my screen. Just a moment, it's getting loaded. Okay, this is the code ADWYN. So if you are using it in the laptop, in the website, on the top of the website, on the top middle, you will have a box to enter the code. Type this code and click next. Then you will be asked your name. You'll have to enter your name and then join the session. Some of you have already joined. So let me repeat. Some of you have joined late. I'll repeat the instructions for you. So if you are using a mobile or tablet, you have to install the app called Nearpod in your mobile or tablet, and then it will ask for a code. I'll show you the code now. And then if you are using a tablet laptop, then you have to go to nearpod.com, and then use this code. This is the code ADWYN. And once you type the code and click enter, it will ask your name. Type your name and then click send or join. So in the website, on the top middle, you will have a box to enter the code. Make sure you are using Zoom and Neopod simultaneously throughout the session. Most of the activities you will have to do in Nearpod, and I will be talking to you through Zoom. Already 68 of you have joined. There are around 300 people in the Zoom meeting, so let me wait for 2 more minutes to let others in the Nearpod. I'll wait for 2 more minutes for others to join, and then I'll go ahead with the presentation. So far 79 have joined the Nearpod. If you use this tool simultaneously during this session, it will be helpful for you to understand how how Nearpod can be used for interactive teaching. The code is ADWYN. This is the code ADWYN. So you have to type your name after entering the code. Some of you are joining from the mobile or tablet. So after installing the app Nearpod, type the code ADWYN, and then you'll have to enter your name and click join. If you are joining from your laptop, you have to go to nearpod.com, and then in the top middle, you will have a box to enter the code or click join session. And then enter the code, then your name. Okay, I think many of you have joined now. I'll go ahead with the presentation. Around 124 people have already joined Neopod. So the Nearpod tool is an example for interactive teaching. Okay, this is a Nearpod has got a set of features which will enable interactivity in your lessons. That is what I am going to demonstrate in this session. So in this session, I will concentrate on three things. First, I will explain the concept of interactivity, especially in the context of e-learning. And then I'll also discuss four different levels of interactivity. And then I'll discuss tools for creating interactivity in your lessons. Okay, I will end the session with digital tools for creating interactivity in your lessons. Now, I have got a question for you. So on your mobile or on your computer in the Nearpod website, you will have a collaborative bulletin board. Do you see a board like this? You can also check in the Zoom screen. So I have a question for you. What do you think an interactivity is? Here I am using the word interactivity as a noun. What is interactivity according to you? Can you write one or two sentences in the box and click post in Nearpod? You have to type your answer in the Nearpod. Okay, both way of communication. So it is two way of communication, exchange of ideas, sharing news. Okay. Two-way communication, activity between two or more than two with a purpose. Okay, so after you post your answer, go through others answers in the Nearpod screen and give like to the post which is better than yours. If you find an idea better than yours, you can give a like. I hope you understand how to give a like in the Nearpod. There is a heart symbol at the bottom of every post. So if you click on the heart symbol, you will give a like to that post. Let's see which post gets highest likes, highest number of likes. So most of your answers have the word exchange of ideas between two people. Okay, two people. So most of you have got particular concept, two people or two-way communication. And some of you have also mentioned exchange of information. Interpersonal, both way of communication. So we've got many answers. As I already told you, all of you have emphasized two things. One is the participants in interactivity. That is two people participating in an interaction. So there must be a sender and a receiver. And you have also emphasized what is shared there between the two people. It could be information or message. But in the e-learning concept, it's slightly different. Okay, generally, whatever you posted in the chat in the box, in the Nearpod box, is true in terms of interactivity in general context. But in the context of e-learning, interactivity is a communication process between human beings and computer software. So when an online lesson is interactive, that means there is a communication that happens between you, the human being, and the computer. So when there is a communication between human beings and computer software, we call it as interactivity in the context of e-learning. Now, there are 4 levels of interactivity. The lowest level is passive, and the highest level is real time. Okay, so when you say your lesson is interactive, when your online lesson is interactive, you must also classify what sort of interactivity you have used in your online lesson. Is it passive interaction or is it real-time interaction? So you must classify it into 4 categories: passive interactivity, limited interactivity, complex interactivity, and then real-time interactivity. I will explain each of these levels, and I will also try to give some samples for each of them, so that you will be able to understand it in a better way. Now we'll go to the first level of interactivity. So the first level of interactivity is passive interaction or passive interactivity. In passive interactivity, there is no response from the computer software. Okay, there is only a static information available, or static image or a video. So the interaction is not high in the lowest level, that is passive interactivity. And I want to explain interactivity from educational perspective, from pedagogical perspective. I want to explain that. For that purpose, I am going to use Bloom's taxonomy. I suppose many of you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. Are you familiar with Bloom's taxonomy? Can you say yes or no in the Zoom chat box? Bloom's taxonomy has gained popularity very recently because of the OBE, outcome-based education, and then competency-based education. Because of such pedagogical practices, Bloom's taxonomy has become very popular recently. Many of you say yes, some of you said no. Okay, so for those who are not familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, I'll explain it very briefly. Benjamin Bloom, who is an educationalist, just give me a second. The chat box has occupied my entire screen. Yeah. So Benjamin Bloom, an educator and a theorist, he classified our thinking into 6 categories. Okay, taxonomy means classification. He classified our cognitive domain, cognitive functions into 6 different categories. The lowest level is remembering, and the highest is creating. And this Bloom's taxonomy is used for various purposes in education, to create learning objectives and to create activities and to align our lessons according to the according to different levels in Bloom's taxonomy and also assessment. Okay, so Bloom's taxonomy is quite popular very recently. So the lowest level is remembering, okay, and the highest level is creating. And we can also classify these six categories into two groups. One is higher order thinking skills, and the second is lower order thinking skill. So remembering, understanding, and applying, these are generally considered as lower order thinking skill. And analyzing, evaluating, and creating, these three are considered higher order thinking skill, HOT and LOT. People usually abbreviate it as HOTS, higher order thinking skills. HOTS and then lower order thinking skill, LOTS, LOTS. Okay, so in order to create something, okay, ultimately the purpose of every education is to make our learners creators. It could be engineering or it could be any subject. We try to make our learners creators. Say, for example, a student who is studying BA English Literature must create something from literature point of view, or at least he must be able to write. Writing is a creation. Okay, so in order to create something, you must remember it. You must remember certain facts or certain information, and you must understand it. Okay, so learning happens in this way. In order to understand something, you need to remember certain facts, and in order to apply what you have learned to a practical situation, you must understand the concept first. Okay, without understanding and remembering, application cannot happen. And in the same way, without remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, and evaluating, creation cannot happen. So creativity is very important. It is vital in the 21st century workplaces. So we need to make our students remember, understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate. So nowadays we use Bloom's taxonomy to create learning objectives. Generally, at the undergraduate level, we have the lowest three skills, the lowest three thinking, lowest three levels. That is remembering, understanding, applying. And the post-graduation level, we are expected to write learning objectives that fall into the top three levels: creating, evaluating, analyzing. Of course, we also include the lowest three levels. Okay, so Bloom's taxonomy is a vast area. I can talk more about it, but I just want to be very brief. I think I've explained more about Bloom's taxonomy. So we use it in many ways in education that you need to remember. And I am going to match this Bloom's taxonomy with the four levels of interactivity. So I hope you remember the levels of interactivity that I discussed in the previous slide. I'm now showing it: passive, limited, complex, and real time. Now I'll explain each of the level of interactivity. I will match it with the levels in Bloom's taxonomy. I will also give examples for each of them. Now, the first level of interactivity, that is passive interactivity. You should now imagine, or you must think of the online courses or webinars that you have done so far. So, in the first level of interactivity, in passive interactivity, generally we only have navigational icons. For example, go to the next page or go to the previous page. Or you will have list of page numbers. You can click on any page number and then it will take you to that particular level. If you are doing some online course, usually very often, I shouldn't say usually, because nowadays we have got real-time interactive online courses there. So generally, online courses have got passive interaction. So you alone interact with the computer, whereas from the computer side, there is no much interactivity happens from the computer side, computer software side. So you will have only navigational icons. Go to the next page, go to the previous page, or you might have static images or tables. Sometimes you will also have videos. Okay, and maybe based on the video, you will be have some questions. For that questions, you will only click any of the options. It could be MCQs, multiple choice questions. You will click on the answer, and then or you must click. There will be true or false type questions. You will click either true or false. Okay, so in the passive level of interactivity, it requires only a click from you. You must remember, you are just clicking. Okay, passive level of interaction, you are just clicking on the links or on the buttons on the screen. Okay, this is what happens in the passive level of interaction. So when you are asked a MCQ, multiple choice question, they generally check your remembering or understanding. Okay, or true or false. Again, in a true or false type question, they check your understanding or what you remember from the lesson. So this level of interactivity, the first level of interactivity, that is passive interactivity, matches with the lowest two levels in Bloom's taxonomy, that is remembering and understanding. Do you have any questions at this moment? If you have any question, you can post it in the chat box. I will simultaneously check the chat box also. So if there is any question, then I will address those questions. Okay. So now I'm going to give some examples for the first level of interactivity. You are going to experience passive level of interactivity now with this example. For this, I'm going to demonstrate, I'm going to teach you a mini lesson about the next generation learners, the kind of learners we have now. This is a mini lesson, such mini lessons I have incorporated to demonstrate or to explain the type of interactivities. Okay, so as you see on the picture, I'm going to explain who the next generation learners are. So to explain this concept, I'm borrowing ideas from a concept called cultural generation from the West. Okay, from in the West, not in India. This is not in India. In the West, they have classified people according to their characteristics, and they believe that the characteristics of people are shaped by what happens in certain decades. Okay, so these generations have been classified according to their year of birth. So do you see a picture generation Z? People who were born between 96 and 2013 are generally known as generation Z. And we've got several terms for this generation. They are also alternatively known as millennials. But technically, the term millennial has also got other connotation. So generation Z are next gen learners, or Gen Z. There are several names that we use for this particular generation, Generation Z. And this Generation Z, they are in the college now. Most of them are in the schools and colleges now. And people who were born after 2013, they must be in their KGs, pre-KGs or LKGs. Okay, so Generation Z is considered to be the next gen learners because they are in the schools and colleges now. Now, I just want to check your understanding of this picture. How many of you belong to Generation Z, Y, X? Can you post it in the Zoom chat box which generation you belong to? Do you belong to Generation X, Y, Z, or Generation Alpha? Can you post it in the chat box, in Zoom chat box? Okay, we have Generation Z, Baby Boomers, Y, most of you are Y, and very few of you are from Generation Z, and we also have Generation X. Okay, so the type of activity that we have now done is an example for passive interaction. So you looked at an image and you try to remember the classification of generations, and then you have understood the classification based on the year of based on the range of year of birth years, and then you have given an answer in the chat box. So this is passive level of interaction, okay? Very basic level of interaction. Now I'm going to show you a video which gives some of the characteristics of generation Z. Of course, you can watch the video in your Nearpod app also, but I just want to play it only here in, I would advise you to watch it in Zoom, okay, so that you need not switch between two screens. You can watch only the first 2 minutes. The remaining is about the marketing tactics to attract generation Z. So watch only the first 2 minutes, and there is only a background music. Second, I'm switching over to the mic. Watch the video carefully, and then you will be able to understand some characteristics about the generation Z. After this, you will have only marketing information about Generation Z. So when you watched the video, the kind of interactivity that existed was passive interaction. You just watched the video, you try to understand and remember facts from the video. Okay, so you need to remember the way I matched Bloom's taxonomy with the levels of interactivity. So the lowest two levels, they match to uh, the passive level of interaction. You're remembering and understanding. So while you watched the video, you remembered certain information and you tried to understand. Now, I'll give you one more example for passive level of interaction. You are going to attend a quiz now based on what you watched in the video. There are 5 questions. So you have to go to your Nearpod app or website where you have signed in with the code and your name. You will have 5 questions. You have to choose the question and answers in Nearpod. In Nearpod, you have to answer the questions. Not in Zoom. You have to go to Nearpod now and answer the questions. And as you answer, after you have completed answering all the 5 questions, you can come back to Zoom and look at my screen. So I am using Nearpod as a teacher and you are using it at the moment as students. So our screens will be different. So on my screen, I'm able to see the results, the answers that you've chosen for each question, and whether it is correct or wrong answer. And I also have statistics, statistics given as numbers as well as a pie chart. So this will help me to understand your performance immediately. Some of you have got 5 out of 5. I hope all of you answered the question. Some of you are still in the fifth question. You don't worry about giving correct answer. This is just an example for the passive interactivity, passive level of interactivity. I'm just demonstrating. So the presentation, this session has got 2 purposes. I am discussing 4 levels of interactivity, and at the same time I'm also showing you the possibilities in the tool called Nearpod. Nearpod is free. The basic version of Nearpod is free, and of course you can purchase a premium version, but I think basic version is sufficient for us. So there are a lot of tools and options available there. So at the end of my presentation, I will again show you how to create an Nearpod lesson like this and use it with your students. Okay, so almost all of you have answered. Now I'm going to distribute the answer scripts back to you. Can you check it in your Nearpod app or website? You see, you will have a pie chart of your performance. If you scroll down further, you will be able to see all the questions and your answers and your correct, whether you have answered correctly or wrongly, you will be able to see it. Some of you are asking for the Nearpod code. It is there on the top left hand side of my Zoom screen. ADWYN. ADWYN. That's the code. If you are joining afresh, you can use this code. Okay. Now I'll go to the next slide. So far I discussed the first level of interactivity, that is passive level of interactivity. Okay. So in passive level of interactivity, we understand or remember facts. That's the thing that generally happens in passive level of interactivity. And now we'll go to the second level of interactivity. In second level of interactivity, that is limited interaction. So in limited interaction, activities like timelines. So when you click on a picture or when you click on certain text, some more information will be revealed to you. Such kind of activities will be there in limited interaction. Say for example, activities like matching two words or matching two pictures, and then drag and drop activities, okay, or clicking on image and then it will reveal answers, and some animated or simple videos. So they all fall under the second level of interactivity, limited interactivity. Okay, of course, these four classification, passive, limited, complex, and real time, they are not watertight compartment. Some of the elements may fall into two categories. Like, say for example, videos. Based on how the video was shot, it may belong to passive level of interactivity or limited level of interactivity. It depends on how it was designed. Okay, and so in the passive level of interactivity, as I already explained, drag and drop activities, matching pairs, and then clicking on hotspots in images, or interactive timelines, or simple animated videos, and then fill in the blank activities. They all fall under the second level of interactivity, that is passive level of interactivity. And as you see on the Zoom screen, passive level, in limited level of interactivity, we involve with two cognitive classification, that is in Bloom's taxonomy. We understand and then we try to apply. When you match pairs, you understand how they are related, and then you apply your knowledge. So in limited level of interaction, we generally involve two levels of Bloom's taxonomy, that is understanding and applying. Now I'm going to show you some samples for the second level of interactivity, that is limited level of interactivity. I've got some words here. There are 6 words on your screen. You have to go to Nearpod to answer this question. Go to Nearpod website or app and answer this question. There are 6 words. You have to match the synonyms. Match the related words. How do you match? First click on a word and then click on the word that is related to the previous word. If you click 2 words continuously, they will be matched. So on my screen, I am able to see how many times you tried and your score. Out of 3, how many marks you have scored, and then how many times you tried to match the pair. Once you have completed the activity, come back to Zoom screen and look at my screen to understand how the results are shown to me as a teacher. So many of you have got 3 out of 3 with only 3 attempts. That means you have not given any wrong answers. If you are using mobile, your mobile screen might be smaller, so you'll have to scroll down to see other words. Okay, I suppose all of you have tried it at least once. Now I've got another activity, matching the pair activity. Here you'll have to match the words with pictures. I've got 3 words and 3 pictures here. You'll have to match the word with the picture. So as you do this activity, you also try to understand how it is related. Second level of interactivity, that is limited interactivity. So as I already explained you, in limited level of interactivity, you try to understand some facts, and then you also try to remember some fact, and then you understand it, you apply it. So the two things happen generally here: understanding and applying. Of course, without remembering, understanding cannot happen. Okay, so but the emphasis is on understanding and applying. So this is what generally happens in the second level of interactivity. Okay, now I'm moving on to the next slide. I have a fill in the blanks activity here. So on your screen, on your Nearpod screen, you will see a passage, and below the passage, you will have some words. Okay, you have to drag and drop the word in the appropriate blank. You have, I'll repeat the instruction again. You have to do this activity in the Nearpod. You have a passage, and below the passage, you have some words. You have to drag those words and drop it in the appropriate places in the passage. So there are 3 blanks. You have to fill those blanks by dragging and dropping the words in the correct places. And on my screen, I am able to see the scores that you have got so far. It's a real-time result for me. As soon as you complete one answer, it shows to me the score. Am I going too fast? Should I slow down, or is this okay for all of you? Okay. So many of you say it is okay, it's fine. So I'll go in the same speed. Okay. So as you experienced, we had match the pair activity, and then drag and drop activity, and the fill in the blanks activity. So these activities, they belong to the second level of interactivity, that is limited level of interactivity. Now I'm moving on to the third level of interactivity. So in the third level of interactivity, we have activities like simulation. In science classes, simulations can be used. Okay, simulations, and then certain games, gamified elements. And then you may have some graphics or certain illustrations or some complex animations that require action from you. And you can also have uh, stories that appeals to your empathy, and then some play activities. They all come under the third level of interaction, that is complex interactivity. And in complex interactivity, it can be matched with the level of applying and analyzing in Bloom's taxonomy. So remember the kind of activities that we have in the third level of interactivity. We can have stories. Okay, there might be some narrations, and based on the narration, there will be questions embedded in between. So it appeals to your right brain, it appeals to your empathy, and there can be some play activities in the third level of interactivity. Okay, and then there can be some complex images or illustrations. It could be 3D. Okay, and there can be animations or animated videos or assessments with scenarios or simulations. These all fall under the third category of interactivity, that is complex interactivity. I'm going to show some examples for the third level of interactivity. I've got a passage here. What you are supposed to do is read the passage, underline only the key ideas. Okay, you are going to underline only the key ideas. So on your Nearpod app or website, at the bottom of the screen, you will have tools, pens, pencils, erasers, everything will be available. So choose the pen and then underline only the keywords in the passage, key ideas. So as you answer, I'm able to see what you are doing on my screen. So after underlining the keywords, click submit. Submit or send. The button is at the bottom of the screen in your Nearpod. You also have eraser there. So in case if you made a mistake, you can erase it. Underline only the key ideas. Many of you have answered correctly. So I'm sharing an answer submitted by one of the participants here. So there are two ideas here. Number one, today's students, that is the current generation, the present generation, they don't want to be passive learners in the class. It could be an online class or it could be an offline class, a physical classroom or an online classroom, a virtual space or a physical space. Students don't want to be passive. They don't just want to be listening to you throughout the entire session. Okay, they want to be fully engaged and they want to be part of the learning process. So there are two key ideas here. Number one, refusing to be the passive learners, and the second one is fully engaged or being part of the learning process. So if you look at this example, I had a passage here. I wanted you to analyze the passage. Okay, I wanted you to analyze the passage. So after analyzing, you applied your knowledge. I asked a question. Based on the question, you analyze the passage and you try to find the answer. So this so you can see how it is matching to the level of Bloom's taxonomy. Now I'll move on to the next activity. I've got a poll here. You can choose any number of answer. It is only a poll. It is not a quiz. There is only one question here. Which of the following classroom activities make our learners passive? So on your Nearpod, you have to choose the answer. It is only a poll. You can choose any number of answers. Some of you asked for asked me to explain how to create it in Nearpod. I'll do it at the end of the session. Okay, so many of you have said listening to lectures make our students passive. Of course, that is true. And then the top second answer is memorizing for an examination. And then reading books. Okay, so let us consider the top three answers. Listening to lectures, reading books, and memorizing for an examination. Now, you look at our present classroom. What generally happens in our classroom? We give lectures and we want our students to read books and we want them to write it, we want them to study and write it in the examination. So these three activities, they dominate our classrooms, our present day classrooms. So our learners are generally passive. The reason is we use passive activities in the classroom. Okay, there is no much interaction in the classroom, in the educational set context. So we need to have activities that will make them go to the higher level of interaction. So I'll share the result of this poll. You can see it in your Nearpod app. Okay, so listening to lecture has got 25.2% of your answers that has called to, and 16.3 of you have chosen memorizing for an examination and reading books. These are the top three answers. But these activities, they predominantly take place in every day in all our classrooms. Now I'll go to the next slide. So these are some examples for the third level of interaction. Okay, complex interaction. Now, for those who are from science department, I have got an activity for you here. I have a 3D image here. Okay, in your Nearpod, you will be able to interact with it. Can you, after looking at this image, can you tell me what it is? In the Zoom chat box, post your answers. Post your answers in the Zoom chat box. After looking at the 3D image, can you say what it is? Coronavirus? No. Cell, of course, it's a cell. Earball? No, it's not an earball. Animal cell? Okay, exactly. It is an animal cell. It's not coronavirus, it's an animal cell. Okay, so now in your Nearpod app or website, you will be able to interact with this 3D image. You can zoom in, you can even penetrate through this cell to see what is inside this animal cell. Okay, you will be able to see different parts of the animal cell, mitochondria, and then the nucleus and the various other parts in the animal cell. You will be able to see everything in the cell. It is a 3D image. You will be able to interact with it. You will be able to swipe it. You can just rotate it. You can zoom in, zoom out. You will be able to interact with this particular 3D object. Okay, so this is complex interaction or complex interactivity. If you consider it as an activity, you can say complex interactivity, an activity that makes use of interaction. Hope you must have interacted with the 3D image there in the Nearpod. I'm going to the next slide. Now I'm going to take you for a virtual field trip. Okay, I'm going to take you to Shakespearean theatre in England. In England, this is where Shakespeare staged all his theatre. Suppose if you are using your mobile to use Nearpod, to access Nearpod, you can just move your mobile like this. So you will be able to see different parts in the theatre. If you are seeing it in the computer, you can just scroll down or scroll upwards or sidewards to see different parts. You can see the sky. You can also see the floor. You can see people who are standing next to you in the theatre. Okay, it is a 360-degree image. And you can see the stage. You can zoom in and zoom out. So I suppose many of you must have heard about head-mounted displays or VR displays, virtual reality displays. It will look like a goggle on your eyes, okay, and then you can put your mobile or any VR devices, virtual reality devices in front of your eyes, and you will feel as if you are standing in that place. Get such 360-degree animations, 360-degree pictures, images are available in the internet. So this is an example for complex level of interactivity. I'm moving on to the next slide. And now the fourth level of interactivity, that is real-time interaction. Okay, real-time interaction, this is the highest level of interaction or interactivity. So this interactivity can be matched with the top 4 levels in Bloom's taxonomy: applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So in real-time interaction, we have activities like interactive videos. I don't know whether you have watched interactive videos. As you watch the video will stop at some point and it'll ask some question. Based on your answer, it'll branch out. There will be several branches. Say, for example, if there's a multiple choice question with 3 options, if you choose option A, it'll go. The next part of the video will be different for you. If you choose option B, then there will be a different set. So based on your answer, the video will be different. Okay, such interactive videos are available. We call them as branch out scenarios in the e-learning that is available there in the internet. And in the real-time interaction, we also have social learning. Social learning, say for example, if you are using tools like Nearpod or Google Classroom or even Facebook or Twitter, you can you can interact with people in real time. When you post something, you can expect responses from other people immediately. Okay, so that kind of interaction can be included in real-time interaction. And virtual reality exercises, as I showed you a 360-degree image, there can also be 360-degree videos. Okay, such videos will be very helpful in training staff or students. Recently, I had a visit to Sastra Institute of Technology in near Trichy. So there, in a particular lab, they have developed a 360-degree tutorial for mechanics. When you join a workshop, so before you start doing your work, you need to be trained. For training that, they produce that particular training material, a 360-degree video. It is complete video. So when you wear the goggle, a VR virtual reality goggle on your eyes, you will be able to see everything around you. And you will also see a person who is next to you doing all the work. So you can learn from him. It is a video, it will be going on. It is not an image. Okay, it is not a static image, or it is not a 360-degree image. It is a 360-degree video. You can interact with the video as in whatever way you want. And you can also in this level of interactivity, in real-time interactivity, we can also include completely gamified assessment or courses that are completely gamified. So gamification is a popular approach nowadays in education. It originally evolved in business field, and then now it is popular in education also. So you gamify. What is gamification? Gamification is applying game principles and game elements into non-game field. So education is not a game field. So here we apply game principles. For example, generally in all games you will have quests. Let me give you an example of a game. I hope all of you must be familiar with Mario, Super Mario, Mario games, or in any game. The player will have a purpose. If it is Super Mario or Mario game, the player is trying to save the princess. So he walks on the wall. Okay. So there is a journey motive, and the player has an objective. In this, if we apply this particular principle in the education, so there will be a journey. Say, for example, if our undergraduate course is gamified, it is a journey of 3 years. And at every semester can be considered as levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and level 6. So 6 semesters, 6 levels. So at the end of the 6th level, our players, that is our learners, they have to achieve an aim. They have to achieve an aim at the end of every level. And at the end of the course. So this is gamification. Gamification is a very vast area. It is emerging, and a lot of research is happening in gamification, and people are trying to apply it in their classrooms nowadays. So as I already told you, in the 4th level of interactivity, that is real-time interactivity, can be matched with the levels in Bloom's taxonomy, such as applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So in any educational setup, we want our students to become creators, or they must possess some creativity after completing that course. Okay. So far in my presentation, I explained 4 levels of interactivity: passive interactivity, limited interactivity, complex interactivity, and then real-time interactivity. And I wouldn't say that you should always consider real-time interaction. Of course, you can use any type of interactivity depending on the purpose and the content and the end result that you want to achieve. Okay, you can have passive interaction. There is nothing wrong in it, but try to vary the levels. Try to have some variety. Okay, your online course should not always have passive interaction. Try to have some real-time interaction as well. And now, can you say in the Zoom chat box? This is a question. What sort of interactivity a webinar belongs to? You all must have attended many webinars during this lockdown period. A webinar, does a webinar belong to passive interactivity, limited interactivity, or complex or real time? Many of you said passive, limited, complex mostly. Passive, exactly. So many of you said passive. That means you have understood the idea. So it is webinars are passive. Webinars belong to passive level of interactivity. Okay, because you listen to me, and then in the chat box you respond to it. The speaker may or may not notice your responses, so there may not be real-time interaction. And there, but of course, you can also make a webinar into a real-time interaction, but it requires a lot of effort from the educator and from the participants. Okay, now I'll show some examples for the fourth level of interactivity. I've got a question here. How long can the generation Z, that is the next gen learners, can concentrate on one activity? Or in other words, what could be their minimum attention span? 10 minutes, is it 2 minutes or 2 hours? 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 15, 1 hour, 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and depends on the individual. Okay, so most of you have said 10 minutes and about 10 minutes. Okay. Five minutes, they are highly impatient. Of course, it is true. It may be 5 minutes to 10 minutes because they have attention defect. 1 hour, 30 minutes depending on the topic. Okay. So many of you said 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 20 minutes, but the research shows a different answer. Okay, this was some 20 years back, the average attention span of adults was 20 minutes. Now, slightly it is different because of various factors. I'll explain it. Recently in the US, they conducted a survey among the college-going adults. Okay, it is in US, not in India. So the research revealed a shocking truth. An adult in America, they lose concentration after 8 seconds. It is only 8 seconds. Okay, the 8 seconds is the minimum average attention span. So it is the minimum level of their attention span. After 8 seconds, they lose attention. The reason is the first 8 seconds must have been passive. Maybe there is no much interactivity involved in the first 8 seconds. And the irony is, a goldfish can be attentive for 9 seconds. So this is a problem. And I don't think the problem is with their attention, with their capacity, or with their it doesn't mean that they have attention defect. The reason is they've got a lot of options to choose from. Okay, they want to have high level of interactivity in our classrooms, but unfortunately most often we make our learners passive in the classroom. We want to be silent in the classroom, and we want them to look at us teachers, and we want them to listen to us throughout the class, and we want them to memorize. We don't want them to create, we don't want them to take part in the lessons, we don't want them to get engaged in the classroom. So that's the only problem here. Okay, so in order to make classrooms highly interactive, we need to allow students to use technology. Instead of banning devices in the campus, we can teach them how to responsibly use devices in the campus, so that they will be able to understand how they can use mobile devices or laptops for their learning purpose. So I've got an image here. It is a static image, and it belongs to the first level of interaction, that is passive level of interaction. And I've got three, I've identified the three elements as three important agents in education: pedagogy, technology, and teacher. Can you say who is who is the most important in this of the three? Technology, pedagogy, and teacher. Who is the most important here? Teacher, pedagogy. Pedagogy. Okay, all the three. You have to choose only one. Pedagogy, teacher. Okay. So many of you have chosen teacher as your answer. Of course, that is true. Teacher is the most important in the classroom, and that teacher must be competent enough, and that teacher must have professional experience. By experience, I don't mean the number of years they've been in service. If age can be equated with experience, I don't agree with that. Okay, experience means people must have explored different options. That is what I mean by experience here. So we must have a teacher with professional experience and expertise. Such teachers will be educators. So in a classroom, teacher is the most important, because the teacher decides what sort of pedagogical approaches will be appropriate for their students, and then based on the pedagogical approaches that they have chosen, they can adopt certain technological devices or tools from the internet. Okay, so the teacher is the one who is the most important in the classroom. So we should always I mean, we should always consider developing a teacher in terms of professionalism. And when a teacher develops as a professional, we need to consider several things. A teacher cannot become an expert in one day. Teacher needs to have three different knowledges. As you see on this picture, the teacher must have three different knowledges. The teacher must have content knowledge, the subject that he or she is teaching, and then the pedagogical knowledge. The teacher must know what what type of pedagogical activities he or she can use to teach a particular content. Say, for example, I am going to teach a poem. Okay, so I must be thorough with that poem. I must have knowledge in that poem. I must have some background information about the poem. So that is content knowledge. In order to teach this particular poem effectively, what pedagogical methods will I use in the classroom? Will I use group discussion or pair activities, or will I use some presentations, or would it be a team teaching? What sort of pedagogical method I'm going to use to teach this content? So that is pedagogical knowledge. And the third knowledge is technological knowledge. So to teach this poem, I am using this pedagogical method called, say for example, group discussion. So in every group, students will discuss this poem and they will bring in more ideas and then they will share it with the other teams. So that is the pedagogical method I'm going to choose. In order to use this pedagogical method, what technological tool will be effective? Okay, one tool cannot be suitable in all situations. Say, for example, we have got Google Classroom, Google Forms, Nearpod, Kahoot. Lot of tools are available there everywhere. But which tool should I use in order to use this particular pedagogical method in the classroom? So, content, a teacher must possess content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and technological knowledge. So there is a intersecting area at the center of the image. I've given it in green color. Okay, technological, pedagogical, content knowledge, TPACK. So an expert teacher must possess this TPACK. Only then he will be able to manage his class effectively. Now, I have got an example for real-time interaction here. We are all going to play a game together. On your Nearpod, okay, on your Nearpod, you have to choose an avatar now. You are going to choose an avatar for you. This will be very interesting. You have to go to your Nearpod website or app. There, you have to choose an avatar and click start or go. I know what button is there. Already some 18 people have joined. Okay, 50 people have joined. So as you join, I'll explain how to play this game. This game is like a quiz. There will be questions and options. You have to choose the correct answer. When you choose the correct answer, you will get some point. Okay. As you get some point for each question, you will climb the mountain that is behind you. Do you see a mountain behind you in the picture? And on the top of the mountain, there is a flag. So it is a race. You're all going to climb that mountain. Okay, the quicker you answer, higher your scores will be. If you are the first one to answer the question, your score will be higher than all the other people. So you will automatically run faster than other people. And let's see who is climbing the tree, climbing the mountain first. As of now, 84 people have joined, 85 people have already joined. I'm starting the game. Should I wait for some more people? Okay, I'll wait for one more minute. Okay, now I'll start. So remember, there will be questions and answers displayed on your Nearpod app or website. You have to click on the correct answer. Okay, you'll have to click on the correct answer, and the quicker you answer, higher your scores will be. And after you answer each question, you'll have to wait for some time so that others complete answering the question. After everybody answers the question, you will go to the next question. Okay, that's how it works. So I'm starting the game now. You will see the question and answer on your Nearpod screen. just an example. So if you look at my screen in Nearpod, you will be able to see the top rankers in the game. So as you play this game, you must remember the level of interactivities that I discussed. So this belongs to the fourth level of interactivity. So the real-time interaction, the quicker you answered, the higher your scores were, and then you are all running in a race and you were trying to climb a mountain. So there is a narration, there is a scenario, and there is a competition, and there's much scope for interaction in this particular activity. This is an example for gamification as well. So I already told you that depending on the kind of content that you teach and the type of learners you have and the type of devices and tools you have, you can choose any type of interactivity. It can even be passive, limited, or complex, or real time. It can fall into any type of interactivity. So that you must remember. Okay, and generally in online courses, often the activities are passive, so you need to have a variety. So try to vary the levels. That is very important. Now, I'm going to end this presentation. I've completed explaining the 4 levels of interaction, and I've also demonstrated some features available in Nearpod. Now I'm going to show you how to create activities like this in Nearpod. Okay, that is the focus of my presentation now. In another 5 to 10 minutes, I'll explain that. It's a very simple tool. Look at my screen and Zoom alone. You can come out of Nearpod. So in order to create a lesson like this in Nearpod, you should use computer first of all. In a computer, in your browser, you have to go to nearpod.com. You make a note of this website. I will also share a training, share a manual with you, a handout with you in Zoom now. So to create a lesson in Nearpod, you have to go to nearpod.com and sign up. Sign up for a free account. And then after creating an account, you will be in a page called a library. This is where all the lessons that you create are stored. So in library, on the top left-hand corner, you have a plus symbol. Okay, remember the steps. You have to sign up for an account in nearpod.com, and then after that, you will be in the page of library. So only in the library, all the lessons that you create will be stored. And if you want to use the lesson, you have to go to the library. And on the top right-hand corner, you have a plus symbol. If you click on the plus symbol, you can create a lesson. Then you will get some options: lessons in Google Slide, lessons in Nearpod, folder, and then supply. So choose the second word, lesson in Nearpod. You can also create lessons in Google Slide. That will reduce the space that your lesson occupies in Nearpod. You will create the lesson as a presentation in Google Slide and then embed it here if you choose that option. So once you click on create lesson in Nearpod, a page like this will appear. You have to imagine as if you are creating a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, each activity that you create in Nearpod is a slide in a PPT. You have to imagine like that. As soon as you start creating a lesson, first step is to make necessary settings, like give a name to your lesson, because it automatically saves whatever you add to this lesson. Okay? So say for example, I'm going to teach a poem. So I've just typed it as poem, the title. And then here you can give some descriptions, choose the grade for which you are going to teach that particular lesson. Is it 12th or 11th or higher education? It can even be used in schools. Or is it professional development? Is it a training for teachers or any other? and then the subject. Choose the subject. I'm going to choose English language arts and then click submit. So once you have made necessary settings, so now the title appears here. So whenever you add something, that will be automatically saved. Now and then it will be saved automatically. Okay, now we have to add slides here. The step is very simple. You have created a lesson, you have made necessary settings. Now we are going to add slide. You click on add slide. You will be able to add three kinds of slides here. You can add content. Remember, when I say content, you can add images and then videos, audio files, and then 360-degree images, and then PDF files, and then audio files. What else? You can even add some simulation activities. Okay, these all come under content. Okay, so by content I mean you will be presenting information in different media. Okay, that's the thing. You have to remember it like that. If you want to understand it better, if you are planning to add a content slide, click on content. A sub menu will open. So you will have a list of content slides here. Do you want to add a slide? You can type in text there, or you can insert a picture there in slide. And then vocabulary video. Vocabulary is another tool which has been embedded recently into Nearpod. These two companies have merged, and Nearpod has allowed vocabulary as one of the activities in the Nearpod lessons. And Nearpod 3D, do you remember the animal cell that I showed you? This is where I created it. And simulations are very helpful in science classes. And then you can have field trip. Remember Shakespearean theater that I showed you? This is where I created it. And then you have more options. Graphing calculator, it can be useful in mathematics and physics classes. You can insert BBC videos, quality videos will be there. Sway is a gallery of images. Slideshow, you can even insert a PowerPoint presentation into a Nearpod lesson. And then video, in video you can insert a YouTube video or videos from anywhere in the internet. You can insert into your lesson, or you can insert an audio file or a PDF file, or you can even show the Twitter stream. Okay, so I'll show you how to add a 360-degree image here. So field trip, I have just clicked on it, and then a dialog box opens. I now have to add a 360-degree image. And the kind of 360-degree images hosted in Nearpod, they come from the website called 360 Cities. From that website, they have embedded all these things here. Just give me a second. I'm checking the chat box for if there is any question. No. Okay, so you can also search for a particular image. Let me search for a place in India. I'm just searching New Delhi. Okay. So I've got some 360-degree images of the places in New Delhi. When I search for New Delhi, places from other parts of India has also come here. Okay. I'll just choose the India Gate of India in New Delhi, and then click done. After choosing that, it's very simple. You have to only choose, and then after you have inserted it, it will appear as a slide here, and then you can create another slide. So you must remember, whenever you want to add a slide, click add a slide. You will get three options. Is it a content slide or a web content? Web content means you can insert a website into your lesson. So your students can visit, your students need not go out of Nearpod to visit the website. They can access the website from your lesson itself. And then you can also add activity. So if you want to add a content, click on add content. You'll have more options. Okay. And then if you want to add a website, click add web content. You have to enter the website address. It will be saved into your lesson. Now, the third category, add activity. If you want to add an activity like fill in the blanks or match the following or quizzes, poll, you can choose the third category, add activity. When you click on it, you will have a list of options available here. So the first one is time to climb. Do you remember the game that we played at the end of my presentation? So you all ran in a race, right? That game can be created here in time to climb. And open-ended questions, you can create an open-ended question and collect responses from your participants. And matching the pair, quizzes, Flipgrid. Flipgrid is another web tool which has been recently merged into Nearpod. So in Flipgrid, you can post a question to your students and your students can respond by recording themselves. They need not type the answers. They can just hold their mobile phone in front of them and they can record themselves as a video and post it to the lesson. That option is available here. And draw it. During my presentation, I had a passage. I asked you to annotate it, right, by underlining certain key phrases. So draw it can be this particular activity, this particular option, draw it can be used to create such activities. And then collaborate, we had a collaborative bulletin board at the beginning of the session. And even in the middle of the session, I asked you about the average attention span. So you all posted the answers, right? That is collaborate. And then you can create a poll, fill in the blanks. You can have memory test. You can have 20 words or 20 images. And then you can check your students' memory by clicking on the pictures. Yeah, I'll try creating an open-ended question now. So I clicked on it. So this is where I have to type the question. So I'm typing a question here. So I've asked a question, what are the 4 different levels of interactivities? You can even give time. You can even restrict your students' response by giving a specific duration of time. It could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the question. Okay, if you want to insert a picture or a video with your question, you can do it here. And you can, in case some students may not be able to type the answers. If you want to allow your students to send audio recordings of the answers, you can enable it here. Okay, after enabling all the options, necessary options, you just click save, and this particular activity will be saved as a slide in your Nearpod lesson. Okay, so I've created 2 slides here. This way you have to keep on creating slides. Now look at the size of the lesson. It is 150 KB. So depending on the media that you use, it will occupy the size here. Suppose if you create it as a Google slide and insert it here, then the size will be lesser. Size will be less than what you create in Nearpod. Okay, after creating the slides, you can move the slides and sort it according to any way that you want. Okay, after creating all the slides, click save and exit. Click save and exit. And your lesson gets saved. It will be there in your Nearpod library. Okay, so this is the lesson that I created now. Now, how to play it in the classroom? How to create code and add your students? So if you are, as I did in this session, if your students are using mobile or tablet, they can install Nearpod app in their device. If they are using computer or laptop, they can go to Nearpod website, nearpod.com. And as a teacher, you have to move your cursor over the lesson that you want to launch in the classroom. You will get two options: live lesson, student based. Okay, so if you click live lesson, you and your students can simultaneously play the lesson. Okay, or in other words, when you change the slide, when you as a teacher change the slides in your students' mobile will also change. Okay, you will be operating the slide. The second option is student based. If you want to assign this particular lesson as a homework, click student based, a code will be generated. You share the code with your students. Your students can do the lesson at any time they want. Not necessarily all of them have to do in the same time in this with you. Okay, they can do it at any time. You can give maybe 20 days time. They have to complete the lesson. And after all of them complete, you will be able to get a report from it. Now I'll show you how to create a live lesson code. So now I click on live lesson. The lesson is getting launched and the code will be automatically generated. Each time a different code will come. Remember, you need not write down the code anywhere. Each time a different code will come. And then you have to share this code with your students. If they enter this code in the Nearpod app or website, they will be able to join this particular lesson. So I've got the first slide here, the Gate of India, and then I've also got open-ended quest. Okay. As you teach in the class, you will also be able to add activities on the spot. So on the top right-hand corner, you have got add activity. So click on it. You can add certain activities like true or false. You can add a slide. You can add draw it activity, open-ended question, or you can even insert a web content. Okay. And also, you have at the top, you have two options: report, end session. If you click on end session, the lesson will be over. Your students will be logged out of the lesson. And the first one, report, if you click on report, a detailed report will be generated by Nearpod and it will be sent to your mail. Okay. Also, you can access such codes, reports from Nearpod website itself. I'll show you a sample. Reports. So in the Nearpod library, left-hand side panel, you have reports. After you have conducted a session, you will be able to see it. Okay, so I'm going to check today's report. Session from 2026-5. So today I had 192 students in this lesson. I'm going to check on this. If you look at the report, it will be more impressive. It will give detailed information about all the activities and the performance of all your students. So on the first page of your report, you have a summary. In the summary, you have two pie charts: student participation and then correct answer ratio. And then in each activity, how many points your students scored. Your students' names are here. And then against each activity, their scores also have been given. You can also check each individual activity. So for example, the first quiz, for the first question, what is the correct answer? And for each question, it automatically creates a pie chart. That's very interesting. And matching pair, that is also there. And then collaborate activity. Okay, for all the activity, the report is here. And you can also download this report as a PDF file. Okay, as a PDF file you can download. or as a CSV. CSV is a different format, something like Excel. You can also download it like that. Or if you want to share this report with your with other teacher or with your students, you can even mail it to them directly from your Nearpod. So share option is also there. Okay. So there are a lot of options available in Nearpod. And remember, Nearpod can be used as a lesson, as a presentation. Okay, it is an interactive presentation. Of course, the tool alone cannot decide what sort of interaction you want to have in the classroom. It also depends on the content and how you design it. Now, I'll stop sharing the screen and I'm going to share a material in the chat box in Zoom. With that material, you will be able to create a Nearpod lesson. So in that material, I have clearly explained how to create a Nearpod lesson. Just a moment, I'm posting it here. Send it. I think sending files option has been disabled here. Okay, I think it has not been enabled here in this meeting. So what I will be doing is I'll send it to the organizers. They can in turn send to all of you by email. Because sending file option is not available here. It has not been enabled. So I will send it to the organizers by mail and they can in turn send to all of you. And in that, maybe I can show you the particular manual, how I have designed it. So this is the manual of the Nearpod lesson. So I've got it here, creating interactive lessons in Nearpod. So I've explained step by step how to create a lesson in Nearpod. Okay, so it will be very useful for you. If you have any questions, I can address to you. Which is better, Google Classroom or Nearpod? You cannot compare Google Classroom with Nearpod. Both of them have been created with two different purposes. Nearpod is meant for interactive lessons, whereas Google Classroom is to have an online space for your class. You can create an online group for your class, and Nearpod can become a part of it. Okay, in the classwork page, you can create a Nearpod lesson, and your students can access it in Google Classroom. So Google Classroom is something like an online group, online classroom. Can I add a Word file in the laptop as content in Nearpod? Of course, you can add, convert the Word file into a PDF and then add it to Nearpod. Or if you want your students to edit that Word file, then make it as a Google document and then insert it here. Is there any similar app like Nearpod? Of course, there are some apps like Peer Deck, but when I compared it with other tools, I found that Nearpod is better because it offers a lot of options in the basic version itself. Nearpod is very popular in the US, especially in schools. And some of you are asking for the presentation. So what I will do is, I will create a student-based lesson and then I will share the code with you so that you will be able to access the presentation even after this session is over. If you have any other question, please post it in the chat box. I'll be able to answer you. Okay. Is there any YouTube channel? Yes, I think there are several videos available on the internet. You will be able to check it out. So I'm launching a student-based lesson. Okay, so this is the code. If you want to check my presentation again, you have to go to nearpod.com and then use this code. Okay, so I have launched a student-based lesson. So if you use this code, you will be able to access my entire presentation. XOQMH, this is the code. I posted it in the chat box. Oh, I'm sorry, I think you are not able to see this screen. Oh, okay. I think you are seeing the PDF. I'm sorry. Now I hope you see the code on the screen. So this is the code. If you want to access my presentation after this session, go to nearpod.com and then use this code XOQMH. And then you will be able to go through the entire presentation with videos, games, and everything will be there. So it will help you to understand Nearpod further. And of all, I have used many tools for my classrooms: Kahoot, Nearpod, Edmodo, Google Classroom, and then Google Meet, Zoom. I have used several tools, but of all the tools, Nearpod is my favorite because it has got more interaction in the class. When you use it in your classroom, your students will enjoy it. How long will it be available? The lesson will be available for 29 days. Till July 5th, it will be available. You will be able to access this presentation till July 5th. It says 29 days remaining. Any other question? And the feedback link is shared in the chat box. You can use it. Check the chat box. Feedback link is shared there. If there are no more questions, I hope I can wind up. I thank you. I thank for the principal for this opportunity, and also the IUPAC team and the management and everyone. Thank you so much.
Xavier, I will take a few minutes in thanking you.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah, it's something great that I should remember you as we have reached the end of the session.
I think I'm not able to hear you.
I have unmuted.
Yes, Father.
Yes. Something great that I should remember you, Xavier.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Of course, you are one of the well-wishers of our institution, and we had been thinking about how to bring something concrete to the educators. That is what I was thinking about. And suddenly it clicked in my mind that Xavier is there, always there from St. Joseph's.
Sure.
And here you have made it a great, I'm sure, I do not know how to describe or comprehend the whole presentation as such. Something superb, very simple to the core in your explanation, an in-depth and a masterly presentation. Thank you, Xavier, Pradeep.
Thank you.
I used to talk about you earlier also. We had earlier your presence for our own faculty development program. Something great. And you had very nicely linked the Bloom's taxonomy and the interactive levels. We were talking about the 4 levels of interactions, and also you were trying to give the Bloom's taxonomy, which is updated, starting from the remembrance up to the being creative. So you are able to bring something that link between our use of technology as well as something theoretically what you have learned. So theory and practice, you were able to see the link as such. And very concretely, you were giving some examples for each level. Wonderful presentation. I hope the participants also agree with me. In fact, I want to have that is a word of thanks as a kind of an interactive word of thanks. But due to lack of time, already some people are asking that they have to attend another webinar. Now, this has become a kind of a disease season. And people are worried of running after webinars. Anyway, but we want to have something very useful to the teacher educators and also professors and research scholars. So another concept that is coming up is gamification. The gamification is something great that is coming up in the field of education, coming from the other side. And so thank you so much for squeezing in our program among your hectic schedule. I know that our Professor Punitha, when she approached you, you were saying that, Madam, I have other hectic schedule. But thanks so much for making yourself available to our campus and making so many participants. All of them have really, had a very interactive session. It was a really interactive webinar, I would say. So thank you so much. And we hope we will be able to make use of this Neopod. As you suggested, Neopod can be very much effectively utilized in the classrooms. Okay. So I would like to thank on behalf of the management, on behalf of our faculty, the administrative staff, and the participants here for your wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Xavier Pradeep. And I would like to also thank Dr. Punitha Mary, the IQAC coordinator of our college, who took pain in arranging all the other things. Then technical support given by Professor Nicholas and the office assistant Arul Mary. Three of them have really worked so much, and they have made this particular webinar a successful one. So once again, my gratitude goes to Professor Xavier Pradeep Singh from St. Joe's College. Thank you, Xavier. I will talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, participants, for your patience.